Ed Mackhouse? I think we have.
On the agenda items, I originally signed up for to support the Crime Victims' Rights Week and the Crime Abuse Prevention Week. And it's related to the housing and community development. It's a fact that a lot of problems with housing homeless youth and all, come from conflicts in the family. So mental health, you deal a lot with mental health, and this results in a lot of problems like housing and things. So it's a fact that people don't get along, like Jean DiGirolamo was saying about child abuse and how this is not forgivable. I think that child abuse occurs in schools and that there's more child abuse in the public schools than in the private schools. I think that the Catholic Church, people go to the Catholic Church, to the private schools, because they don't feel safe in the public schools. And I feel this parents, and there's a right for corporal punishment because children are smart, they feel entitlement to get away with things, like we have all the rioting in the schools, like in Chicago, in the streets, kids getting away with everything. So rationally, these kids are not stupid, and they get away with these things. So there has to be a balance. I don't think the Catholic Church is responsible for alleged child abuse of priests and stuff. There is abuse, but it's more of an individual basis, and all the innocent Catholics should not be punished, and the schools hurt by this. The private schools stayed open during the COVID crisis. Bucks County did better than Montgomery County, which lost almost 2 years of schooling. But we have to look at all this thing. And the billion-dollar medical transgender industry takes advantage of people. Pensbury, CHOP, there's a New York Post article about the taking away of organs. 55% of the transgender youth say they've not been properly educated on it, so they should not be coerced or indoctrinated, and they should have children's rights to be educated so they can prevent abuse and the elimination of their organs. So that's another form of abuse. And so people who are concerned with the transgender abuse are not against transgenders. Thank you.
Okay. Beth Curcio?
Good morning. When we talk about the national child abuse, trafficking is one of the biggest problems, and Philadelphia is one of the biggest hubs in the airport where these children come in. So you can bet your bottom dollar they're being trafficked in Bucks County. I find that you're so hypocritical because you talk about child abuse, but you go to the Rainbow Room where it is being condoned. No child under 18 should be allowed in that room. You're very well aware that that is there. So we have agenda, child and youth, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Who are these children? Are they children of Bucks County? Are they being taken out of homes? Or are they being trafficked because of the Biden administration having these children just come over? There have been whistleblowers, yes, Diane, but these are our children. There have been whistleblowers on Project Veritas that work for counties and everything else. And if you work for a county and you know this is going on and you keep this to yourself because you are taking orders, it's against and hurting humanity. It's against the law. These children are our future. And the Rainbow Room was granted $620,000 in Bucks County. Yet, you sue Twitter and all these other ones with somebody else, and we all know what that's about. That's about getting another law like the Patriot Act to take away conservative voices. All right, then there was another one here. This was just chock full of nuts today, people. Finances, who is under 7A, B, approved forgiveness for multiple real estate taxes in these parcels? Who are these people? Are they businesses? Are they residents? And then the other one where it is under equipment that you're purchasing, would it be, do we use these equipments enough to justify purchasing, or would it be better to lease them? Because with equipment, there is also maintenance. 9, housing and community and development. Who are these homeless people? Are we ever going to say who these homeless people are? Are they citizens of Bucks County? These are our tax dollars at work. Or are they illegal criminal aliens? And number 12, information technology, approved contract to AirWatch Workshop, one software to provide mobile device management. What is this? Does it have anything to do with tracking and tracing the people of Bucks County? Thank you.
Lori Katz.
You're up there rolling your eyes and giggling and chuckling, and you should hold yourself to a higher regard for the positions that you're in. My questions are 2C, Wilmsdorf is in Berks County. Why is money being sent there? Do we not have ample accommodations here in Bucks County for youth where we can have oversight in the amount of $100,000? 2D, same question here with Lancaster and foster care. Are services being provided in Bucks County? Same question for E and F. Please extrapolate on these children's origins. Are these kids in H transitioning from their family of origin into foster care? Please give specifics and who tracks these children. 9B. What is their criteria governing who is selected to receive a portion of this $538,000 program? Are they matched with CareerLink so they can help support themselves? 10A, what are the handbook updates for non-union employees? 15, great idea with Peace Valley Park docks. I'm wondering what materials they'll be using for the decking. 16A, how does the community feel about this rail trail? Do you hold an evening town hall meeting for the affected residents to give you feedback? You're spending $1.75 million of our tax dollars, right, on that. So I'm wondering if citizens were afforded an evening town hall to share potential concerns and have them be addressed. Please respond. Please don't ignore that. 18A, what is the actual amendment approved on January 18, 2023? And because I still have some time left, and we were talking about victims rights week, I'm wondering for 8C, E, and F, I understand that these women have been incarcerated for crimes that they've been accused of committing. But I'm wondering, since I understand that it's a phenomenon across America where trans men are asking to be housed in these women's facilities, it subjects these prisoners to opportunistic predatory rape crimes. I'm wondering how many male trans prisoners do we currently have housed, if any, in women's correctional facilities? Thank you.
Okay. Liz Yaus.
Hi, everyone. My name is Liz Yaus. I'm from Northampton Township. and still? Liz Youst, Northampton Township. My first topic is number 7, A and B, with Bristol Township and Lower Makefield Township, approving forgiveness of municipal real estate taxes for 2 different parcels. I'm just wondering what these properties are and why do they get tax forgiveness? I have another question about 8A, 3B services in Reading, over $50,000 to approve the purchase of 3 HVAC units for the voting machine warehouse. Just wondering what's happened in the past. Are these HVAC units needing to be replaced? Was there never any HVAC units in the past? Was there any danger of these voting machines having issues? Also, I'd like to make another comment. I'd like to know why the 3 county commissioners here, as members of the Board of Commissioners, has not cleaned up the Bucks County voter rolls. I've seen a recent report of the NCOA, that's the National Change of Address Database, that shows that the Bucks County voter rolls have 12,529 registrations that are shown to have moved out of the address of registration. And I've also seen another chart that shows that 2.1% of the Bucks County voter registrations are out of state, according to this NCOA. Election integrity is a nonpartisan issue. Both Democrats, Republicans, and independent voters want clean voter rolls. So I'm calling on all 3 of you to clean up the voter rolls. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Andy Warren?
Morning, Commissioners, and everyone else. I have questions that are going to end up with the personnel list, which you will be voting on, so I assume that's okay?
Sure.
Okay, for now. And then I'll have a question at the end, too, for the general. Item 6A. Since there's no county dollars involved, is it correct to assume that COVID dollars would be involved? And since I'm talking about COVID, do we have a number on how much we received from the COVID program, ARA, and how much is left? I know we've got to spend it by the end of next year. How close are we to spending that funding and generally is 6A COVID funds? On the personnel list, that's interesting reading sometimes, but particularly item 5, 34, and 43. All 3 of those have to do with shifting of dollars, shifting of personnel in the solicitor's office. My question is this deck shuffling, my words, in the solicitor's office still connected with the solicitor becoming the special counsel and that whole change of personnel? Just what's involved with that? Item 22. And I don't know this individual, but a Human Services Development Fund Coordinator, Food Fund Coordinator, very good job, is becoming the Opioid Settlement Program Manager. What does an opioid program settlement manager do? And where do the funds for settling opioid issues originate? Thank you.
Sure, thank you. Okay. I think that was it for people who are speaking on agenda items. So, where to start? Certainly the reason for asking questions, well, the reason to ask questions should be to sort of generally just learn more information about what your county government's doing. We do know, obviously, there are people who come to these meetings not with any intention of that. They just like to, have some fun when they're here and troll the commissioners. Definitely some lack of information, I'll put it nicely. The co-responder program, which started in 2020, is a program that Commissioner Marseglia introduced along with our Human Services Office, and working, interestingly, first off with our now sheriff, and then Public Safety Director in Bensalem, Fred Herron. It has expanded from Bensalem to, is it 19 or 18? 18, about roughly half the police departments in this county are now signed on to this program. It is that successful that in the span of 2 years, you've got half the departments in this county who want to do this program. It does match or does embed social workers, trained county employee social workers with police departments to help police officers deal with some of the things that police officers weren't necessarily trained to do. Police officers are one of those occupations where, because of their nature of the work, because of the interaction they have with the public, many times we throw more and more and more things on top of them to have them do extra things. And this is actually something that's hoping to take some work off of their shoulders and give it to experts in mental health, experts in substance abuse, expert social workers who can deal with issues with an elderly person, with the family, that once the police officers determine the scene is safe, then the social workers can take control. It has been very successful and is actually in many ways the opposite of what the commenter was talking about. With regard to various comments here about children, yes, the children and youth workers who were here, as well as a lot of other people who work here, understand what it means to be a mandated reporter. I know what that means, having been a former teacher. If you are aware of child abuse or suspect it, you have to report it. That's not an issue here in this county. Our employees understand that. In terms of who we're helping, obviously this is Bucks County, and so if we're spending money from the Bucks County funds, we're helping children who are from Bucks County. Another commenter asked about why we're spending money for providers who are not in Bucks County. Simple answer is, well, a couple simple answers. Number one, it may be that we are using services in Bucks County, but maybe the corporate office for that entity is not in Bucks County. And so it was similar to last week where we were contracting with a bank. I think it was a Bank of America? No, it was JP Morgan, which is like a bank that's been around for well over 100 years. They happen to have a New Jersey corporate office. And a commenter asked, why are we using a bank in New Jersey? They are all over the place, and so it's not a matter of using somebody who's in a certain area. Another reason why we're using services that are outside this county is, quite frankly, we have some great foster parents in this county. We have great organizations that work with foster parents in this county. We do not have enough. And so that's something, if people are concerned about that, we certainly welcome you to reach out to some of these agencies, reach out to our agencies. We'll happily, get you, connected with the kinds of things you could do to become a foster parent and help children of Bucks County, transition from situations that are not so safe into a transition that hopefully is much safer. So if that's something you're interested in, we'd certainly welcome that opportunity for you to do that. In terms of 7A and B, a couple references to finance in terms of forgiveness of municipal real estate taxes, one in Bristol Township, one in Lower Makefield Township. Mr. Boscola, can you tell us a little bit about these two properties?
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. I'll explain 7A. The same explanation holds for 7B. Bristol Township had purchased parcel 0506148 in 2022. They applied for tax exemption from the county and is awarded that. They were approved for tax exemption starting January 1st, 2023. What they're applying for is tax forgiveness from the purchase date to January 1st, 2023. because they're an exempt governmental entity.
Right.
Same thing with Lower Makefield. They purchased the parcel under 7B, and they're asking for tax forgiveness for that parcel as well.
Okay, thank you, appreciate that. In terms of, was a question about item number 12, which is IT. Dell Marketing, Mr. Regula, just comment on what that is?
Thank you, Commissioners, for your consideration. Is a software program called AirWatch that will allow us to secure the data on cell phones, tablets, mobile devices that the county issues to various employees to do their job. So this will ensure that the data and programs in there are kept secure, and in the event of a loss of the phone, we can still control that phone and wipe the data to make sure that that information is kept secure and out of the public hands.
Okay, thank you, appreciate that. As a comment, ask question about the Bucks County Opportunity Council and services they provide. They not only get funding from the county to help people who are homeless, to help those who are looking for emergency rental assistance. They do have pretty in-depth programs to help the people, the clients they're serving, learn to manage their money better, help them get their lives on track. It does try to match them up. In fact, just last week, actually, there was a ceremony, their annual celebration where they honored some of the clients they've helped. And really, we got to hear their stories about how much they've grown from their experience with the Opportunity Council. In some cases, it takes years for them to do that. So it's invaluable work that we appreciate them doing. And if you don't know anything about the Bucks County Opportunity Council, I encourage you to learn more about them. If you're interested in contributing to them, certainly they would welcome contributions. All right. 10A, someone had asked about. The human resources, that approve the updated human resources handbook for non-union employees. Ms. Smith, just want to comment on what the updates are?
Thank you, Commissioner. There were just a couple changes to the non-union handbook as we updated it. It hasn't been updated for a couple of years. We wanted to make it a little more consistent with the majority of the union contracts. One thing was to increase medical leave to the maximum of 6 months. It was 12 weeks for non-union. Another thing was to change the way working out of class is processed. It was changed from half the difference between the regular job and the higher position the employee was performing to be the full rate of the higher position that the employee is temporarily performing. We did some clarification regarding medical plans that are offered to non-union, and we updated the holiday list to add Juneteenth. The commissioners kindly gave that additional holiday countywide to everyone last year, so now the list is accurate. Thank you.
Okay. And just to add a little detail, the extension of health care or time off for health is really focused on maternity leave. Not just that, but it's focused on maternity and paternity leave. So we're expanding that to 6 months for employees. In terms of the decking material for Peace Valley, I don't know if, okay, Ms. Nagel?
Thank you. Parks is replacing 5 docks in Peace Valley Park, Lakeview North, 24-hour lot, Westwoods, and we're replacing 2 at Sailors Point. These docks are past life, and so we're excited to get these replacements in. The decking is made of PVC, and the ramp is aluminum. Okay.
Comments on the Upper Bucks Rail Trail. Yes, there were public meetings involved. The Planning Commission does that. Usually several public meetings involved when you do any kind of these trail programs. Date correction on 9/18 was off by a year. Actually, it was a typo. It should have said January 18th, 2023. It actually said January 18th, 2022. And so there's an update on that.
You want me to tell them what it is? Yeah, it's the Youth Job Readiness Program.
Yes, okay, yeah, I'm sorry, yeah, the Youth Job Readiness Program was what it was focused on. In terms of our prison and how they handle people who are, or who may be trans, that is something that our prison director does very well. Mr. Kratz, you want to comment on that?
Absolutely. Again, it's a very complicated problem. There's 2 sides to it. There's a legal side to it, and an ethical side to it, and a safety side. There's actually 3. Bucks County does what's called a gender review committee, so anybody that comes in that identifies as transgender or in the process of transferring is reviewed by a committee, interviewed, and then the decision is made on to where to safely house that person.
Okay, thank you, appreciate that. So let's see, we dealt with 7A and B. In terms of the HVAC system, this is really an upgrade over what was very much a sort of a kind of a jerry-rigged system regarding our election machines. The new machines obviously need to be in a more climate-controlled environment, and so this is aimed at providing that environment. You want to add anything, Ms. Humphrey?
Yes, so thank you, Commissioner. The voting equipment that is in the warehouse, last summer, the question was, what do we do in the past? Last year, we were using portable equipment to keep the warehouse cool enough, and that was on loan from emergency services. So this equipment will be installed permanently for that purpose.
Okay, thank you. In terms of voter rolls, we follow the state law in this county. This has been a pretty common piece of misinformation and disinformation, very much like the attack on Dominion voting machines and that kind of nonsense and ridiculous, efforts to sort of, quite frankly, in my opinion, destroy democracy in this country. We follow the law in this county, as other counties around us do, in terms of voter rolls. Mr. Warren asked a couple things. Funding for 6A, which is emergency management. This is next-gen security. Ms. Kenny?
Thank you. This is paid for out of Homeland Security funds. It's just upgrades and enhancements to our security platform for access to the building, cameras within the facility, related to the expansion project going on at the facility.
Okay, thank you.
Do you want me to answer the question about the ARP?
I was going to. Just and the other question about money that's been brought in through CARES and ARPA, just to clarify something that Mr. Warren said, the money has to be allocated by the end of $24. It does not have to actually be spent until the end of $26. But you want to comment on it?
Right, so of the $121 plus million we received, $271,072 is not committed. The rest of it is.
Is that online too? Is it posted online?
Yes, this report, the last quarterly report is online.
Yeah.
The next quarterly report will be the beginning of next month.
Okay, beginning of next month, the next quarterly report will be online. Yeah. In terms of the opioid settlement manager, if we're paying attention, there was a very large class action suit that was brought largely through the efforts of now Governor Shapiro when he was Attorney General, involving multiple states and some of the major manufacturers and distributors. Bucks County is getting somewhere in the area of $45 million over the next 18 years. We did have a committee made up of county employees as well as people from the community who have backgrounds in drug prevention, drug abuse treatment, things of that nature, who did submit a report just a few months ago recommending different actions. That we're very public about that. In fact, we had a presentation at one of our meetings. That money that's coming in is already starting to go out the door, is already starting to be programmed. This person's job is basically to manage all of those contracts and manage all that funding and do everything that has to be done, not just this year, but, well, I guess as long as she wants the job, I suppose. So that is where that's coming from. And finally, with the law department, I know there's one additional person coming in. That was something we had planned to do anyway. I think, Mr. Khan, do you want to comment on the other two movements there?
Sure, happy to, Commissioner. The other items, Commissioner, are a title change as well as a salary adjustment for one of our deputy county solicitors. Happy to talk about both of them. I don't think there's any connection to these changes, which are anticipated to be long-term, and my agreement to continue to serve as special counsel in the short term, other than they are very much in line with the vision of my successor, Amy Fitzpatrick, in the future of the law department. Her role at the moment is the first assistant county solicitor, and as with the approval of the salary board, the law department, which is no longer called the solicitor's office, has moved towards a model of having layers of experience, having more senior attorneys able to supervise and get better value out of more junior attorneys. We have found that we have been able to count on and rely on attorneys who serve as deputy county solicitors. And the role that Ms. Fitzpatrick was hired into or quickly grew into as first assistant no longer really fits what the needs are. And so the person who will in many ways be that number two in the law department, Ms. Akendo, is going to take on a slightly different title of a first administrative deputy solicitor. For anyone interested more in the history of all that, I would advise that they look at the salary board meeting about a month ago where that was approved by the salary board. When these items come to the commissioners for approval on a personnel list, the commissioners are simply, as a public board, ratifying the decision to keep the person who's in that job with the new title. And so that's really what that personnel item reflects. Commissioner Harvey, you mentioned the hire that the county had planned to do. We still have vacancies on our manning table, and we try to be responsible in filling them. And that is one example of the areas where the department continues to operate under budget, hiring people at levels lower than what the commissioners approved, where we had the opportunity to find really talented people that I think everyone will hear about more when Mr. Burns starts, at a great savings for the county. We've tried to be very intentional about where to suggest that those savings go, and I think that assuming that the commissioners approve it, providing, in my view, a much-deserved and overdue salary adjustment to our deputy county solicitor for children and youth could not be a more appropriate use of some of that savings, just a fraction of that savings. Chelsea Jackman has been doing truly heroic work for well over 2 years now in the Children and Youth Agency, doing what many of us have had to do, which is to create a position and create a portfolio out of nothing. I would recommend anyone who's interested to review the solicitor report we did a few months ago, where we showed, among other things, the substantial savings that the county received by no longer having to spend endless amounts of money by the hour to outside counsel. And I don't think there's anyone from our department who deserves more credit for helping the county capture those hundreds of thousands of dollars of savings. And I don't just mean looking back, I mean looking forward. Building a sustainable model for the county. So for what it's worth, Commissioner, my recommendation would be that Ms. Jackman receive the recommended salary increase as recommended on the personnel list.
Thank you. Appreciate it. All right. Any other comments from board members? We'll address all the questions that were asked. If none, we're looking at the consent agenda. Approve the minutes from the April 5th, 2023 meeting. Are there any comments or questions regarding the minutes? If not, we'll fold those into the rest of the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda, including minutes and resolutions 1 through 18?
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Okay, thank you. All right, looking at regular agenda personnel actions, commissioners list. Believe Commissioner Marseglia is going to abstain from number 32. Okay. Is there a motion to approve the remainder of, or the commissioners list? Yes, the personnel actions commissioners list. Is there a motion?
So moved.
I will second. Understanding Commissioner Marseglia is abstaining for 32. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Board appointments to the Bucks County New Americans Advisory Commission, a 4-year term. Rocio Higney is a new appointment to finish the term of Mr. Duke Wu. That term will end on January 2nd, 2024. Is there a motion to appoint Rocio Higney to that position?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Chief Operating Officer, Ms. McKevitt.
Thank you, Commissioner. In the spirit of continuing our efforts to share information on important programs and projects that the county is working on, I'd like to invite our Executive Director of the Bucks County Planning Commission, Neil Doherty, our Sustainability Director, and I'm gonna mess up your name, Cassandra Goodsmanson, our Sustainability Planner, to come up and talk about our sustainability efforts to date.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to present. By way of background, as you know, I believe it was February of 21, the county adopted a Ready for 100 resolution, which was really kind of the beginning of our efforts towards sustainability. After that, we Neil Doherty was named as our Director of Sustainability in January of 2022. And then in July of 2022, Cassandra Goodmanson joined us as an environmental planner. And since that time, they have been working very diligently to craft a sustainability plan for our county operations. And since today is the meeting before this Saturday, which is Earth Day, we think it's an appropriate time to update everybody on what we've been doing and where we're headed. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Neil and Cassandra.
Thank you, Commissioners. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We appreciate the time. What we'd like to do is provide a sustainability progress update report. I'm going to introduce my colleague, Cassandra Goodmanson. She joined us in July. She's an environmental planner in the Bucks County Planning Commission, and she is by way of Moscow, Idaho.
Thank you. Next slide. So what is sustainability? Sustainability isn't just going green. In order to have a sustainable system, you need to have environmental protection, which is restoring ecological functions as well as protecting from pollution and ensuring clean water and air for everyone. And that goes also into social equity. In order to have a sustainable system, we have to make sure that our actions do not disproportionately affect those who are disadvantaged already. And then we also need economic viability, where our actions do not burden taxpayers or give us reason to be in economic risk. Next slide.
So we have crafted the outline of a Bucks County government sustainability plan, and we've separated this into 6 areas: energy procurement and production, buildings and construction, transportation, landscape and natural resources, materials and waste management, and workforce and collaboration. Next slide, please. So I'll touch on one item from each of the areas of address. Energy procurement and production. Bucks County, its government, is a large consumer of electricity. It's also our largest source of emissions. We spend $1.8 million annually on electricity procurement. We usually do 3-year contracts, and I'll get to that later in the slide. But this is an area we want to address head on. 2, buildings and construction. We want to provide guidance so that new buildings and renovated buildings address energy efficiency and utilize green business practice or building practices when appropriate. Next slide, please. Transportation. County employees do quite a bit of driving as they provide services throughout the day. Last year, Bucks County reimbursed more than 2 million miles driven. That's with county employees in their own vehicles. We also have a fleet of nearly 200 vehicles, and in providing services and going about the course of business, they drive a nearly equal number of miles. We're talking nearly 4 million miles annually. We want to address that. 4, landscape and natural resources. One example would be on county properties transitioning to no mow or reduced mowing to reduce emissions and preserve bird habitat. Next slide, please. Materials and waste management. One example, between the admin building and the courthouse and the neighboring or the other Bucks County buildings, we consume nearly 15 million sheets of paper annually. Printing is quite expensive. Printer maintenance is quite expensive. IT is keenly aware of this problem. They track it. They provide those reports to us. We want to work with them on ways to reduce the amount of excess printing that's taking place. This is the equivalent to more than 1,020 trees. For any sustainability plan to be effective, there needs to be employee buy-in. We did a survey of sustainability plans from similarly sized counties throughout the nation, and one common thread for effective plans was employee buy-in. So we will do our part to inform and help educate our colleagues in the county. Next slide, please. I want to remind the commissioners, 2 years ago, you approved the Ready for 100 resolution, and there's 3 key criteria here, or targets. 1, 100% clean renewable electricity for the County of Bucks electricity needs by 2035. 100% clean renewable energy when replacing county heating and air systems and transportation by 2050. And then, when appropriate, as county vehicles are replaced, priority will be given to 100% renewable energy source vehicles by 2030, again, where feasible. Item 1, 100% clean electricity by 2035. I want to address the effort we're part of on the next slide, please. We have partnered with the neighboring counties on a regional power purchase agreement. So right now, Bucks County, big consumer with admin building, courthouse, Justice Center, corrections, Neshaminy Manor, emergency services, big consumer, and in some cases 24/7. And we right now are at the end of a 3-year contract on our electricity procurement. And that expires at the end of 23. We went to market for 24 and we looked at 25 and we saw a 32% increase. And obviously we want to look for more economical ways to procure energy. The other thing I'll inform you of is our rates are phenomenal. They are below market. So we have done our homework in procuring electricity up to this point, but as we look into the future, we want a more stable purchasing mechanism. So we have labeled this partnership with our neighboring counties the Sustainable Energy Partnership of Southeastern PA, and there's 3 primary goals. 1, meet renewable energy targets through access to large-scale renewables. 2, access low prices by always being market ready. And 3, where appropriate, bringing on partners, whether they be local municipal governments, school districts, or authorities. Next slide, please. Evan, the executive director of Bucks County Planning Commission, has made it clear to Cassandra and myself, our primary mission is the development of a countywide sustainability plan. And he let us know in the beginning that out of that, there would probably be the need for a local climate action program. However, last spring, I saw an opportunity to apply for a local action program via the Pennsylvania DEP and Penn State University. And I want to let you know it's revenue neutral because it's covered by a grant from the ICLEI organization. So we applied to that program, we were admitted, and for 1 year, summer of 22 to late spring of 23, we have been teamed with a group of professors and students from Penn State University. The LCAP program provides local governments a way to determine their community's contribution to climate change and to help that government develop plans to draw down carbon emissions and adapt to a changing climate. We made our first benchmark presentation to the Bucks County Planning Commission Board back in December. Commissioner Harvey joined us. We are making our next benchmark presentation to the board early in May next month. I would welcome you to join us there. Next slide, please. I'm going to ask Cassandra to come up to talk about the effects of climate change and risks that we're already facing here in Southeast Pennsylvania.
All right, well, according to the Pennsylvania Climate Impacts Assessment that was done in 2021, there's predicted that Pennsylvania is going to get warmer and wetter, particularly in our location. If you look at the maps, around Bucks County, we're not only going to be seeing significant increases in the number of days of over 90 degrees, but also increases in precipitation, heavy precipitation days. What we've been seeing, and when we talk to counties or municipalities and others, is we're seeing things called microbursts, which are very localized storms. I've driven through a few of them. It's like you're in a hurricane for like 10 minutes and then you come out, and these types of storms can cost a lot of money, as they can cause flooding in non-flood zones, which can be risky for human life as well. One thing to mention with the increases in predicted heat is that one of the greatest and deadliest natural disasters is actually heat waves, and sustained high heats can be very deadly for individuals, so we must take these things into consideration when we are developing our climate action plan and just our plans in general for especially for outdoor workers and things like that, where we need to recognize the dangers that heat possesses in our workforce. Thank you. Next slide. So according to the 2022 study from the American Lung Association, Bucks County was one of only 3 counties who received an F rating for air quality due to ozone. While improvements in air quality have been made in recent years, there's still a long way to go. We understand that some of this is due to the winds from Philadelphia, but these are things that we need to consider as we develop our sustainability and climate action goals. Next slide.
I want to update you on other sustainability projects in progress. We restarted the internal Ready for 100 committee so we can get feedback from stakeholders. The Bucks County Planning Commission has updated or provided updates to the 2021 County Hazard Mitigation Plan. This is addressing climate change with an emphasis on stormwater management. The Bucks County 24 Implementable Comprehensive Plan will address climate change, resiliency, and sustainability head-on. Evan spearheaded the effort to provide a model alternative energy ordinance. That's a draft document that has been shared with municipalities to provide some uniformity on installations. He has done the same for electrical vehicles charging stations, best practices and standards. That's a guidance document. The commissioners approved CPACE, a commercial lending program to industrial developers and commercial developers to access low-interest loans from private lenders to make energy and efficiency improvements on their properties. Cassandra and I were working towards a SolSmart designation for the county so that we can provide technical know-how and guidance to municipalities. The Planning Commission manages the ongoing Household Hazardous Waste Program. And then the county, when appropriate, has purchased electric vehicles. Next slide, please. Next steps. We need to deliver a Bucks County Government Sustainability Plan. The delivery date for that is expected to be fall of '23. We need to wrap up the bronze designation from SolSmart. Subsequently, or concurrently, we need to develop a countywide climate action plan. And then there's good news on this front. We are to receive a $400,000 grant from the Department of Energy used towards energy efficiency for county projects. I want to call Cassandra up to show us the county website for sustainability, which she has put a lot of effort into. Thanks.
So one way we wanted to be transparent and show all of our work that is going into the county for sustainability efforts, we have developed a sustainability website. So if you go on to buckscounty.org, if you go to the Planning Commission, you'll find the sustainability page. So here we're still putting in a lot of work. It is still under construction, but there you can find things on what sustainability is, how we're addressing bees and trees, and other things like how we're doing on our SolSmart project. Part of SolSmart, which is a solar, it's a program that helps with creating solar environment that's uniform in the county. Part of that is to create a solar landing page so you can get all of your solar information on one section. So that will be part of our sustainability website, which you can find there on the website. So we just wanted to let everyone know that we will be adding more information there, and there's a wonderful opportunity for people to find sustainability actions that they can do for themselves, as well as things that they can do at the municipal level. Just wanted to wish you all a happy Earth Day and say thank you for our opportunity to serve and create a sustainable place for Bucks County. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, great
Thank you
great
for the
efforts.
work.
Great efforts, yeah. Evan, do you want to stay just for 1 second? Are you, Earth Day, so are you prepared to talk about the trails?
Sure. This Saturday, from 9 to 12, I believe, we're going to have a table at the Southampton train station.
Right.
On the Newtown Rail Trail. So we encourage everybody to come out. We can celebrate both Earth Day and Trails Day. And it should be a good time, and weather should be good, I'm hoping.
I'm hoping.
And right now, it looks good. So
Thank you.
everybody to come out and join us.
Thank you. And we have a second event that I believe we're partnering with Middletown Township on that Angie will provide some information on.
Great segue. So we would like to invite the community and join Middletown, Northampton Falls, Newtown, Humeville, and Bucks County Parks and Recreation on Saturday, April 29th. So you can do your regular Earth Day thing on the 22nd. Join us on the 29th, Corkery Park, 11 to 2 p.m. at Pavilion 2. There'll be over 40 agencies grounded in conservation, stewardship, environmental protection. There'll be activities for kids. There'll be live entertainment, food. There's sapling giveaways. And what we're really calling for is the community to help us with a tree planting opportunity that will help us reestablish the riparian buffer, beautify the park, and provide habitat for our birds and our pollinators. So please join us on the 29th. This is a free event, and we would love your help. So thank you.
Thank you. And then lastly, there's a couple events coming up, training events. There's a job resource fair at the PA Career Link of Bucks County, and it's in Ben Salem, and that's on April 25th. And I believe Randy has it up on the screen, or he did. There it is. Yes, April 25th from 2 to 4:30. So if you are looking for a job or resources in finding a job, please visit this event in Ben Salem during that time. And then in addition to that, there's, as part of the entrepreneurship program at the community college, I don't know if you can you scroll up, Randy? Or down? Okay. So it's an 11-week training program, and it starts on May 16th. It's held Tuesdays and Thursdays evenings between 6 and 8:30. It does say that there were information sessions. However, I know that if you contact the community college, there are still spots available if you would like to participate in this program. And it's a program that will help you grow your business. It will also help you to start marketing campaigns for entrepreneurs in the county. It's for startups, website development, things of that nature to help your business grow in the county. And then lastly, this is Joe's last day, so I just wanted to say thank you, Joe, for your leadership, your guidance. It has been invaluable. I wish you well in your journey, and thank you.
Okay, thank you. We're going to go a little out of order. Commissioner Marseglia actually is going to have to leave for another engagement, so I'm going to let her do her commissioner comment now, and then we'll go back to solicitor comment.
Okay, thank you. Just a quick reminder that this week, Saturday, is Drug Take Back Week, and as the district attorney has reminded me, we have set a goal of 200,000 pounds. So everybody make sure you go on the website. There's 48 locations that you can drop your medications off at. Over the counter as well. And second, I wanted to actually just introduce Wendy Flanagan. Wendy actually works for our behavioral health department. She's coordinator of service development and quality management in behavioral health, but she is also one of the tri-chairs of our suicide task force, and we are having one of our walks on Sunday, April 30th, and she can tell us a little bit about that.
Talk right here? Do I talk from here? Yes, I will not ask anyone to remember my title, but one of the things I get to do is I'm one of the chairs for the Suicide Prevention Task Force, and we do events throughout the year. One of our big events, we hold it twice a year. Our spring walk is coming, and it's April 30th. Commissioner Marseglia had said, it is our lower end walk. We partner with our schools throughout the county, so the schools that are participating in this walk include Neshaminy School District, Pennsbury School District, Bristol Township, the Bucks County Technical School, and Ben Salem. All will be joining us and have partnered with us to prepare and plan the walk. It's I want to say our 10th year doing the walk. It's been a huge success. It not only is a huge fundraiser for us and helps us with our initiatives throughout the year that are for prevention and postvention efforts, it's also a huge community event that brings us all together. For those of us that have lost someone to suicide, we're there to support and lean in on one another and offer each other hope, and just bring, awareness to our community on, suicide and our suicide prevention efforts. So, I ask that folks consider coming and joining us to the walk. It's a lovely event. It's Sunday. We do it early, so you'll have the rest of the afternoon. The walk starts at 10. Our ceremonies start at 10. The walk shortly after. It is just like a 3K. You loop around the tech school 3 times. And like I said, it's a beautiful day, so I look forward. If folks can't join us, please consider sharing this event with others.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, Solicitor's report. Mr. Khan, I guess for the last time.
Thank you, Commissioner. I'll begin as usual by reporting that the board had its standing executive session yesterday, which they conducted with staff and legal counsel to discuss, among other things, specifically personnel matters and receive confidential legal advice about pending litigation. And then, Commissioner, if I may, I'd like to complete my final solicitor report with a note of personal thanks to Commissioner Marseglia, who had to leave early, and to you, Commissioner Harvey, you, Commissioner DiGirolamo, first and foremost. Commissioners, you entrusted me with the important responsibility of building and leading a law department, which has done so much for the good and welfare of the people of Bucks County over these last 3 years. If I could summarize what that good work has done to improve people's lives, I would look at it in 3 areas. One has been efficiency and outcomes. We've talked many times about the facts and figures. It's very easy, and we've done this, to talk about the millions of dollars in legal fees that have been saved in not spending money on outside law firms that we have been able to bring in-house by doing legal work. But it's also important to emphasize that we not only haven't sacrificed outcomes, we've actually improved the outcomes to give the county and the people what they deserve. Probably the most high-profile and earliest example of that was when we were brought in after the last administration had suffered a significant setback with a class action verdict awarding a class $66 million in damages. And with the new approach by the new administration, with a new mandate, we were able to bring that down by over 90%. Which was a direct impact on the county's budget. That was one of the many things that allowed the commissioners to maintain taxes where they were, allowed them to maintain and improve the level of services that the county provides, not only for crime victims, but for things like the new Pardons and Expungement Unit, which improves the lives of the people who are returning to the community after their experience with the criminal justice system, but also the communities that they are rejoining. There's no example of outcomes I could be more proud of than the work, as I mentioned in response to a question, of our children and youth agency attorneys. The dedication of not only Ms. Jackman, but all the attorneys working to support that agency, to give them the support that they deserve, securing better outcomes, literally can be and has been the difference between the life and death of a child. And I truly commend you, commissioners, to prioritizing that work, to enabling us to do our part in ensuring that the agency is successful. I'd also say that the new approach of being more proactive has been a real success for the people of Bucks County, whether that's been protecting our environment, that everyone in this county, everyone on this board agrees deserves to be protected. This county has taken its role as stewards under Pennsylvania's Environmental Rights Amendment to new levels, and we have seen the county lead the way on things like addressing the youth mental health crisis by being the first county to take on social media companies. We have done these things, and in my humble judgment, commissioners, we have been successful because of our partnerships, because of our collaboration with others, whether that's been teaming up with other counties or our district attorney on some of these lawsuits, or working collaboratively with municipalities to ensure that Bucks County was the largest county in all of Pennsylvania to receive its full share of opioid settlement relief that, again, allowed this administration to do the important work to address addiction and to make people's lives better. And the final area I would just address has been the overall level of innovation that you've allowed this department to show, especially in the area of new ideas through our ordinance system. We've not only provided the public, for the first time ever, with online access to the ordinances that govern their lives, but we've been able to write and help implement first-of-their-kind initiatives, including Pennsylvania's first-ever used car lemon law, which went into effect this year. It makes Bucks County the only place in Pennsylvania where used car buyers have the same Bill of Rights that they have in New Jersey. And all of this has been done in line with the values of this administration and at the direction of the commissioners. So for all those reasons, commissioners, again, thank you. I also want to express my thanks, my sincerest thanks to our other clients, which are the staff of Bucks County. Margie, this really has been a wonderful adventure, and I couldn't thank you more for your leadership of this staff of 2,400 employees, many of whom, through the division leaders and department heads, the public gets to see at these meetings, but many of whom the public never sees, never hears about, who are anonymously and humbly, with immense dedication, doing important work to make people's lives better, to save lives. And by getting to be not only a counselor, but in many ways a partner in the important work that you've been doing, whether it's protecting the public during a pandemic, whether it's protecting the right to vote when that comes under attack. It's really been just an honor and a privilege, and I will miss you all tremendously. And that goes to our row officers who we've on various occasions either been in the role of defending when they've been sued or partnering with on different initiatives like with our district attorney, our former controller, Mr. Doherty, rooting out corruption. It's really just been a tremendous privilege to work with all of you, and you all have my thanks. My final thanks, Commissioner, I must most sincerely express my gratitude to the attorneys, the paralegals, and professionals in the law department. Every success that I have discussed today, every success the public has heard about or benefited, has 100% has been because of their dedication and their hard work. I think that the best test of the strength of any organization is to watch what happens when its founding team steps away. And as I move on from the role of county solicitor, I could not be more excited to see the law department soar to new heights. We have been able, thanks to the commissioners, to build an incredible team of public servants. They will be led by Amy Fitzpatrick, who will thrive as my successor. I've had to make thousands of decisions over the last 3 years in this role. The best one that I ever made was to hire Amy. I couldn't be more excited that the county is going to have the benefit of her leadership. I couldn't be more grateful to the commissioners to trusting her, and I commend you, commissioners, for making the decision to name Amy as the next county solicitor. And with that, Commissioner, that completes my report.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. We'll move on to brief public comments. Scott Vogan.
Scott Vogan, Warrington Township. First off, Mr. Harvey, the response trolling the commissioners is totally inappropriate. I have worked with many people elected from supervisors all the way up.
Yeah, I wasn't speaking about you, Mr. Vogan. I apologize if you thought I was talking about you.
I just think I'm taking exception to the term in general, just so you know. And they've all said the same thing. When they ran for office, not when they got elected, when they put their name on the ballot, they set themselves up for abuse. There was a former state rep who staff was being abused, and he said, I will take the abuse. I signed up for it. So if you're going to get elected, you're going to serve, you signed up for the abuse. You know, I was going to talk about something else, but I'm going to hold off on that. But while we're talking about hate crime, I've been a victim of hate crime. The most recent was April 4th, when I mentioned in my township that one of my elected officials said, I don't give a blank that you're getting anti-Semitic comments. And he turned around and verbally abused me. So this is real recent. The anti-Semitism in this county, in this area, is way up. And it doesn't help, as a judge of elections, when I have to be abused because the party is coming in and making comments or I am hearing through second, third-hand sources that these people are telling me that I should be killed for my religion. They haven't said it to me directly, so that's why I haven't called the police, because it's all hearsay at this point. But the fact of the matter is they're very abusive on election day. Mrs. Fitzpatrick, I don't know if she's in the room, Miss Fitzpatrick, but she needs to direct Dan Geiser to go to court and ask to remove Jim Worth as the constable of Warrington, because he is letting it happen. And I've been called immature, mentally ill, and what have you. And also it doesn't help when I don't get any support, and the Board of Elections is not going to do much now because the judges just want to hold the fort down. That's all they're going to do right now until the election is over.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. Nancy Sherlock?
Good afternoon, maybe now? I don't know. First, I'd like to say congratulations to those employees who have been long-term employees, and also to the employees that work with the crime victims and the children abuse departments. And also, I'm happy to and proud that my taxpayer money goes to such a wonderful crew of people here at Bucks County. I mean, every department, I think it's money well spent, and I'd like to appreciate all that the employees, as well as their supervisors and superintendents do. So, but next I'd like just a brief thing called Election Has Consequences. I'd like to mention this, I'll probably get cut off very quickly, but this has just some of the things that have been done in the last few years. The first ever video live streamed commissioners meeting happened. First ever town halls. They began completing upgrades to fit to improve. I think glasses would help. To improve the video broadcasting, they took a complete inventory of all ordinances ever passed by the county and made them searchable through their website. They passed the first responsible contractors ordinance, passed a false claims ordinance to protect the county finances, updated and strengthened county whistleblowers regulations, refinanced the county's debt. They initiated a partnership with the Pennsylvania National Guard to improve the county government's cyber security, initiated a transition plan with 70 county volunteers who produced a 153-page report of the recommended changes and initiatives, some of which have been followed through, passed a fair hiring practice ordinance, and so much more. So there's another page's worth, but thank you to the entire.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. Mr. Mackhouse.
Ed Mackhouse again, retired teacher, scientist, Buckingham. The themes here about crime victims' rights and National Child Abuse Prevention. I'm Jewish, but I like the New Testament quote, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall inherit the world." As far as abuse, everyone feels they're abused a little bit, and no one's perfectly happy all the time. When I was a child, I thought I knew more than my parents. It's true I'm more educated, much more. They didn't go to college, but their principles are right, and they're just as smart as me, although they don't have all the information. So as far as scientists, I learned the limitation of science. There's no magic cure for environment. There's no free energy. You have the windmills and the whales bumping into them in the sea. You have, as far as carbon emissions, reducing carbon emissions, the trees absorb the carbon dioxide, recycle it, and that's been sustainable. Under President Trump, we became energy independent, and we didn't have wars. Now, the oil pipelines are the most efficient way to transmit energy, and shutting down the pipelines made the price of energy, electricity, everything go up, and we're at war over the energy, and a nuclear war will cost hundreds of millions of people's lives. So we can't talk about the weather, we can't change it, and I appreciate all the advances in science, but we have to realize our limitations, and blessed all the good work people are doing, and have faith, have no fear, it's all about the beer. And Bud Light, people have their voice, not just the beer.
All right, thank you. Beth Curcio. Yes, that's fine.
Hi, I'm Liz Yaus from Northampton Township. Thank you for changing up the schedule since I have a meeting right now. I will have to look into the Pennsylvania rules about voter roll maintenance. I have friends in other counties, and it seems as though some things that happen with regard to elections there is different than what happens in Bucks County. So that's why I thought that we had some freedom. Could someone please tell me when the voting machines have been or will be tested? Okay, so I think that most people don't know that in the past, absentee ballots were opened and counted after the polls closed in each polling location. The last few years, all of the tens of thousands of ballots are processed in just one location. This means that we, the people, lose control of our votes, and I think most voters don't really understand that. As members of the Board of Elections, you may have to follow the PA rules for certain things, but I would think that as Bucks County Commissioners, I'm asking you to do all that you can do to bring election integrity to Bucks County, even if you have to try to change the Pennsylvania rules. These things including having the mail-in ballots counted in each precinct, as well as address and investigate concerns brought to you by voters and poll watchers. I'm taking time away from my job, including a meeting right now. Many more people are getting engaged, and I think now is the time to have one public comment meeting a month to accommodate working members of Bucks County. Thank you.
Priscilla Linden.
Good morning. Priscilla Linden from Upper Makefield. Again, I rise to thank the commissioners for your diligence in preserving and expanding the health, safety, and general welfare and sustainability of Bucks County. I agree with Mr. DiGirolamo that child abuse is a heinous crime. But I remind us that it was our governor, when he was district attorney, that did successfully prosecute clerical violators of child abuse when others would not take that step. So thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, Carol, oh wait, where am I here? Oh, sorry, Carolyn Sue Houston.
First of all, I'd like to thank the commissioners for all you do. And second, my friends and I spend a lot, I'm in Buckingham. My friends and I spend a lot of time on Cold Spring Creamery Road. And I'd like to know if the commissioners have anything to do with improving the roads around here or who should be called. It's not a PennDOT road, but anyway, there are a lot of potholes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Lori Katz.
The current Democrats in office are out of touch with their constituents' principles, and promoting and implementing this Marxist agenda is not an option to be tolerated any longer. It is downright dangerous. And speaking of options, why did the Bucks County Democrat Party not offer their constituents any options other than the two of you for commissioner this election cycle? Out of 204,145 Democrats, no one else threw their hat in the ring? This public should always be given options. If not, then what kind of system are we operating under? Let that sink in. What kind of system are they forcing on us? It's the party's job to find candidates for you to vote on and offer you choice. Why did they not offer a moderate Kennedy-like candidate? Call and ask why they didn't. 215-348-2140. There are dangerous, life-changing issues on our doorstep, and the best predictor of future behavior is relevant past behavior. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. How is this relevant? Well, consider the pandemic. How did our commissioners handle that? Are we better for their decisions today? Ask the shuttered businesses. How is it ever acceptable to determine whose job is essential versus non-essential? Did they stand up and push back, or were they complicit in following the party line? Our children were shuttered in our houses, with schools and playgrounds closed. Depression, anxiety, mental issues took over. What they needed most was connection and socialization, which they were deprived of. They wound up on TikTok and other harmful apps. I recommend people educate themselves and watch the free online movie, Childhood 2.0. Bucks deserves better. Listen to past public comments starting a year ago featuring our own Bucks County residents, and you decide. And we do not come here for fun.
Okay. Beth Curcio?
Mr. Harvey, I wanted to correct you. We are not a democracy at all. We are a constitutional republic, and disinformation is a Marxist term. Diane, it wasn't a hassle for you and Mr. Harvey to attend an evening drag show and watch a grown man gyrate with heels and a skirt, but it's just too much of a hassle for the people of Bucks County to have a town hall. We could do it right here in this room. Okay, I wanted to address the transgender population. It's 0.7%, and we need to cater to them. $620,000 a state grant, that's our tax money. $2 billion spent with a predicted $5 billion. 25% unemployment due to illness. 30% drug and alcohol addiction. 56% contemplate suicide. 21% attempt suicide. $1,200 per month on their medications, which are cancer-causing. This is abuse. Follow the money trail. Pharmaceutical companies, evil doctors. Surely it gets laundered to many of the politicians. These are crimes against humanity. Ask yourself, why do they want our children? I'll tell you why. Because these rich, sick, globalist, crazy people like Bill Gates and Klaus Schwab and etc., they're all pedophiles. You smirk, mister, you smirk. They want pedophilia legalized. They want your children. They're into the abuse. Mr. Harvey, you told us how, as a teacher, you indoctrinated children by using names not given by their parents. This is indoctrination. Did you ask their parents? Did you? What was your personal agenda doing that? One day, we will all face our Creator. What will you tell him? What will you say? Crimes against his innocent children? No one will ever get away with taking.
Thank you. Andy Warren?
Just real quickly, 15 seconds maybe to lighten the mood a little bit. I would remind Ed that was a Jewish guy that made that blessed peacemaker's comment. So that's excellent. And I think Cold Spring Creamery Road is a PennDOT road, and if a pothole is an act of God, so when you call PennDOT, if they don't fix it in 24 hours, then you got it. I'm semi-familiar with a guy who tried to throw his hat into the ring to be a candidate and got it thrown right back at him. So there's a lot going on here. And I wish you well in your new ventures, Mr. Khan, but the other part is I'm under the assumption if I call the law department, I can get a copy of that report referenced of a month or two ago. And I'll check with you, Mr. Harvey. I'll check with you.
It's online, right? I think it's online. Yeah, it's
My
online.
point for 1 minute made by others. I can't commend you as I've commended you three before for some of your proclamations and what you've said. Children abuse proclamations today were great. They were wonderful. But the three of you are the highest elected non-federal officials in Bucks County. Use your voices to speak out against the abuses that are happening to children in America because of open borders. That's what you ought to be talking about, and I suspect at least 2 out of 3 of you read the New York Times. None other than the New York Times talked about the abuse of child labor. This is way bad, and we need voices to speak to the federal administrations.
Okay, Doug Moyer?
I'm Doug Moyer from Lower Makefield. I apologize for the shorts, but I dressed for this afternoon, not for this morning. I just wanted to take a moment to thank all 3 of you commissioners for all of your dedication, your hard work, your results, and your grace under fire. I wholeheartedly support Commissioner Harvey and Commissioner Marseglia for the re-election. I would say a kind word or two and wish good luck to Commissioner DiGirolamo, but in this political climate, that probably wouldn't do you any favors, so I won't do that. And the last thing I will say is encourage everyone here and watching, vote all sides, get out, vote, whatever your positions are. Vote in 4 weeks, just less than 4 weeks, May 16th. That's the proper place for us to wage our political battles at the ballot box. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Okay, those are all the names we have on the list. Just touching on a couple of these, in terms of the comments made by Ms. Yaus. First off, the 3 commissioners, because we are on the ballot this year, we are not the Board of Elections. There are 3 judges who are now the Board of Elections, and that will stay through the rest of this year, and possibly, I guess, even next year. I don't know when that ends. In terms of testing voting machines, that is done regularly. And Ms. Humphrey, do you know? Yeah, it's every election. It's coming up really kind of pretty soon, if it hasn't been done already. It's got logic and accuracy tests, which is, sample ballots are put through. The Board of Elections staff already knows what the results should be, making sure that every machine reports the same number out. That's done every time. In terms of absentee ballots, it was Act 77, which was a state law that was passed that moved the counting of absentee ballots from the precincts to the Board of Elections. So that is not something we have any control over. Cold Spring Creamery Road, the one thing the county does not control, Ms. Houston, the county does not own any roads except within our own parks. For example, we own some bridges, about 120 bridges or so, but we can take a look at Cold Spring Creamery Road and see if it's a township road or a state road, and we can certainly pass along your concerns. This is pothole season, as I think I mentioned a few meetings ago. It's I would expect the macadam plants are up and running at this point. They usually close for the wintertime, and so I would expect to see some of those potholes getting fixed sometime soon now that the threat of frost is over. So in terms of the comments about me, I was a teacher, to be quite honest. The students who I remember, and there were maybe a dozen of them, parents actually were approved already, the names of the children. And so by the time I've learned the name of this parent of the child, it was something that parents approved of. So I'm sorry if that doesn't jive with what you expect. In terms of the legal report that Mr. Warren mentioned, it is online. as part of our meetings, and, we'll help you with that. I actually don't read the New York Times. They don't have a comics section, so I don't And I'll wrap up. They do? They have one? I stopped. I wasn't not talking political cartoons. I'm looking for Garfield and, Yeah, right. More intelligent part of the newspaper. So, and with that, I think we'll wrap up the comments. We'll go now to commissioner comments. Commissioner Marseglia obviously made hers already. Commissioner DiGirolamo.
Yeah, just to add on a little bit that I talked about last meeting, and I know our commissioner from the Department of Corrections is here, Dave Kratz, about the xylazine. And I mentioned it last week about or 2 weeks ago, what a big problem it has become. And it would, and I think I talked about that it wasn't a scheduled drug. So that led to us a lot of challenges for law enforcement, even to find out where it's coming from. But yesterday, the governor, Governor Shapiro, was in Philadelphia, and he said he plans to make this xylazine a Scheduled III drug. Scheduled II drugs are the opioids and the more addictive medications, highly addictive, and the Scheduled III drugs are a little bit less addictive than the Scheduled II drugs. But I think that's a step in the right direction, and I think it helps, for one, law enforcement out to figure out where this stuff is coming from and maybe try to keep some of it out of the streets. And, I think it also helps, secondly, to get the message out there that these things are very dangerous and very, very, very addictive, and, put some teeth into maybe getting a handle on where these drugs are coming from. It's a drug that basically veterinarians use, so I'm not quite sure if it's being diverted from that source or if it's coming in from maybe other countries or wherever it's coming from. But I think it's a good first step. We put some steps in there to maybe get a handle on this thing, because it's very dangerous, it's deadly, and I know our Department of Corrections has a big problem with it. So step in the right directions. And just finally, for you, Joe, I don't know where your journey in life is going to take you next, but wherever that is, all the best. And I just wanted to let you know that I very much appreciated, especially as minority commissioner, that the many, many times that I've come to you with questions about what was going on, I mean, you answered them, I think, every time honestly. And, even when there was some disagreement on what we were about to do, you treated me with a lot of respect and actually kindness. And I very, very much appreciate that. So wherever you're going, all the best to you and your family. And it's been a real pleasure being able to work with you. Again, it's not always we were in agreement with what was going on, but again, we did it in a respectful way, and I appreciated all the time you took with me to answer questions and get back to me with answers if you didn't have. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Gene. All right, thank you. Okay. Thank you. Ms. McKevitt just updated me that Cold Spring Creamery is a state road. So we certainly can reach out to the state reps and senators in that area. We'll make them aware of the fact that we've certainly got a complaint. We'd like to see PennDOT, get the lead out, and fill in the pothole. So a couple things, as we mentioned already, April 22nd, Trails Day and Earth Day. So we have invested this county, previous to the three commissioners coming in. The current three commissioners are actually not previous to Commissioner Marseglia, certainly previous to meet myself and Commissioner DiGirolamo. The county has invested a lot in trail programs throughout the county from north to south. And so we encourage you to go out. Hopefully the weather's nice, enjoy the trails, whether you're walking or biking, taking the dog, taking the kids, or just getting out for some peace and quiet. We encourage you to do that on the 22nd. We know that April 29th is the Earth Day celebration in Core Creek. Also wanted to mention a couple just other days. April 28th is probably not the date that rings a lot of bells, but actually in 1970, April 28th was the day that the OSHA, Occupational Safety and Health Administration, was created. It went into law. It is an agency that was actually talked about almost 100 years ago. You know, that there should be some government entity that could go around and try to make sure that workplaces were safe. As this country industrialized in the late 1800s, early 1900s, there was not a lot of attention paid to safety for workers. And so, you know, that was something that was raised, you know, as I said, well over 100 years ago. And by 1970, enough people were concerned about it that you actually got a federal agency which does go around, inspects different workplaces, making sure it's safe for employees, and also investigating issues of, you know, when there's some kind of tragedy. April 28th has also become Workers' Memorial Day, which is really a remembrance of workers, no matter what kind of job they did, no matter what type of education they had, field they had, didn't matter how much money they made. If they were injured or lost their lives on the job, it's really a day to remember them. And hopefully, you know, consider our own workplaces and what kind of environment we have our employees working in. So keep that in mind for April 28th. Certainly in this county where you had a large history of industrialization, you know, you've had a lot of people lose their lives on the job, and sadly, it still happens. Thankfully, not that often, and we obviously want to make it so that it never happens. And finally, just today, 248 years ago, was the really beginning of the American Revolution. On the fields of Lexington and Concord, you know, a few dozen, well, starting in Lexington, a few dozen members of the Massachusetts militia decided to do a little show of force against a couple hundred British regulars as they were marching to Concord to try and find, you know, contraband. A brief little fight ensued. You know, the British obviously won that one, but the rest of the day did not go so well for the British Army as they went to Concord and marched back to Boston. It's interesting as we talk about the problems we face as a country and the challenges we face, and whether it is what you heard today about focusing on climate, certainly when we talk about violence and crime and the attitude we have, you know, toward guns in this country, you know, the attitude that we see and its energy usage and hybrid vehicles, is that there are too many people, I think, too many people in leadership in this country who view those problems as too big to fix. You know, well, we can't fix those problems. We can't help that. We can't do that. You know, there's no way to solve that problem. We're just sort of stuck with it. And, you know, I'm wondering, there probably were people who thought that way about being colonies of the British and not liking the way the treatment was going 248 years ago. But they weren't the ones standing on the green at Lexington. You know, they were probably in their homes. It was the ones who came out and said, no, we got to do something. And this might not be the smartest thing to do, to stand in front of the most professional army in the world at the time, with barely any training, and just to you know, kind of try to show them that we're not scared. But they did it. And so I think really about, you know, this day, I think about the famous speech from President Roosevelt, you know, the hat in the ring speech, which is a famous one, probably the most famous speech, and the people who get involved to make things better. Certainly, I think that's why I got involved. That's why Commissioner Marseglia got involved. Certainly, I'm sure why Commissioner DiGirolamo got involved. And I'm sure it's why many of the people who work here got involved, because they saw a chance, and the royal officers as well, a chance to make a difference, to use whatever skills they had to make things better, and to not just say, well, can't do anything about that. So the problems we face as a country can get fixed if we try to fix them. And so maybe we should focus a little more on the possibilities of making change and making it happen, instead of just saying, well, it's too big, we can't do anything. So I want to thank everybody for their work today, and we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second, all in favor? Aye.